Okay, so we're going to have a look at Brain Damage by Pink Floyd off Dark Side of the Moon. I don't want you to be put off by the way I'm playing it and think that's a bit beyond me, because what I'm doing might seem complicated, but it's just a little simple pattern that if you learn it, it's just very repetitive. So before we start, I'm just going to play you the verse and the chorus so you can see how it's going to sound. So I'll just go in from the verse. The lunatic is on the grass. The lunatic is on the grass, remembering games and daisy chains, alas. Got to keep the loonies on the path. The lunatic is in the hall. The lunatic are in my hall. The paper holds their folded faces to the floor, and every day the paper boy brings more. G now. And if the dam breaks over many years too soon, and if there's no room upon the hill, and if your head explodes with dark forebodings too, I'll see you in the dark side of the moon. And then back into the pattern. So that pattern might seem a bit complicated, but if I just slow it down, that is all it is. So I'm going to take you through the chords, and I'm going to take you through the picking pattern, and then slowly piece that together with the verse. Just a quick reminder, if you're liking the videos that I'm doing, if you could please subscribe. It does help me to continue making more videos like this, and I do appreciate all the comments people make, so thank you very much. Let's have a look at the chords first. So here we have a D major, and then we have a D sus2, so you take that second finger off there, should sound like that. And then we have a D7, so there's three types of D, so put your first finger on the second string, first fret, and these two either side. That's how that should sound. Now we have an A7 over E. That sounds more complicated than it is, but you can see you bar the first four strings with your first finger. Put your third finger here at the bottom, so we'll show you that there. So I'm barring this from the fourth string. Put this third finger here. You could use your second finger or your fourth finger, doesn't really matter. Third finger's just a nice in between. And a G7 over D. So that A7 over E means the lowest note you play is an E. So see this fourth string, that is an actual E note, so that's why you got an A7 chord with an E in the root. So this is a G7 over D. So normally a G7 would be like this, but because it's over D, D has got to be the deepest note of the chord, which is the fourth string. So you'd be strumming this from the fourth string instead of these notes, because that would be just standard G7. Here from the fourth string, that would be a G7 over D. So I know it sounds complicated, this, but when you explain that the root is the one on the right and the chord's the one on the left, it's not as daunting. So this is an E over D. So this sounds kind of strange, but it's not all that bad. If you can see, it's like a D chord, but it's moved up 2 steps, but it still has the D in the root because it's an E over D. So when you shift this shape up, it turns into an E chord here, but with a D in the root. So here's your D, shift it up to a D sharp, then to an E, and strumming from the fourth. That is an E chord, if you can hear, but with a D in the root, the fourth string. Okay, let's go through the other few chords in this song. You got a standard G, and then you got a C, muting that top string, remember. E minor. Doesn't matter if you use your first and second finger there. Got an A7, a standard A7. If you see the root there is on the 5th string, whereas in the A over E, the root is on the 4th string here. So there we go. And then you got a B minor 7. Two different ways you could play this. You could play it with this way with your first finger on the 5th string, second on the third finger on the 1st string there. So you could play it like that, or you could bar the 2nd fret and play this A minor 7 shape. So whichever one of them you're used to playing, it doesn't really matter. It all sounds the same. So I'm going to go through the chords first of the verse. So you've got a D to a G7 over D, it should be. So do that shape from the 4th strum back to a D, G7 over D, and then a D chord, E over D, so shift that up 2 shapes, and then A7 over D, E, and then back to D. Okay, I know that chart isn't too clear on that one, but I'll just explain that. So D, you've always got this 4th string in the root to a G7, back to the D, G7, then D, E over D, A7 over E, and then back to D. Okay, now I'm going to show you the picking pattern, which I've done a segment on this previously about this picking pattern. So this is actually putting it into practice. So this is the D shape, because if you notice, all these chords that I just played are just on the first 4 strings. So this will accommodate all them chords we just played. Now if you see, there's a little T for the thumb. So you can see the thumb is alternating. That's constant, that's like your foundation, that's your bass line. So let's just stack this this part up. So play a D chord, and I want you to pluck the 1st and the 4th string, so it should sound like that. Now your next note is the 3rd string, but with your thumb, so it goes 1, 2. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so your next note is the B string, so the 2nd string up, and that hits on the and of 2, so it goes 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and. Okay, so the next beat is your thumb on the 4th string there. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, the next note is the 1st string, and that's the and of 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. So the very last note in this little folk picking pattern, you hit the 4th string with your thumb. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Now if you only play it at that speed for now, that's great. And it is one of them riffs where after a while it does fall under your fingers kind of nice. And you can pick up the speed because you are using a couple of fingers, so it's easy to pick up the speed. Okay, so I'm going to put that pattern with this sequence. So I'm going to just say, so D, 2 lots on there, and then the G7 over D, back to the D, then to D, slide it up 2 frets to the E over D, A7 over E, and back to D. So if I was to put that with the chords, hopefully it would make a little bit more sense now. So I'll just put the verse on. So from this D, 1, 2, 3, 4. The lunatic is on the grass. D. The lunatic is on the grass. Back to D. Remembering games, move it up 2 frets, daisy chains and laughs. A7 over E, got to keep the lunars on the path. D, and then D2. Okay, let's go to the second verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. The lunatic is in the hall. D. The lunatics are in my hall. Back to D. The paper holds their, move it up 2, faces to the floor. A7 over E. And every day the paper boards a day more. D2. D7. Okay, and then this is strum, this bit, so G. And if the dam breaks opens to 8 many years too soon, you see. And if there's no room upon the hill, G, stay on G. And if your head explodes to A7 with dark forebodings too, see. I'll see you on the dark side of the moon. G, B minor 7, E minor to A7. I'll just zone in on that last bit there. So G, you could do a B minor 7 like this, and then it's easy to the E minor, and then the A7. Or you could do G, B minor 7, sounds a bit better. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's a lot to take in. I'd say work on the chords, go back and work on the chords, then work on the picking pattern until you can get it fluent, and then try and piece it together with the chart and the chords. Okay, hope that's helped. It's a lot of good fun, that tune. It's great if you can play it from start to finish. It'll be quite an achievement if you're a beginner, sort of intermediate player. So, alright, thank you very much.